title. Meanwhile, Donald Curry was cleaning up his half of the division. Finally, after his win over Marlon Starling, the war of words began.
Curry installed a second fight in Atlantic City, and I showed up at the press conference.
I challenged him at the press conference to come on and fight.
And Donald blurted something out.
I called him Bow Wow. He's Bow Wow. That was the word. I mean, I still think he's chicken. I won't believe it until I see him in the ring.
Believe it or not, on April 14th, the night before Hagler met Hearns, these two rehearsed in the center of the ring.
We was playing around, but he was somewhat sizing me up by saying that, boy, if I was on the inside, I'd eat the ribs up.
That's the first time I've ever been in a ring with Milton, and I was kind of sizing him up a little bit of what I can do to him and what he couldn't do to me.
I countered by saying, it's only a dream, you never get this close to me.
And I said, one of these days, I'm going to get you here. And when I do, look out, because here I come.
And finally, these undefeated champions will meet for real. We're live from the Hilton Center in Las Vegas, Nevada, where HBO Sports presents World Championship Boxing. Tonight, the World Welterweight Championship will unify the title as WBA and IBF champion Donald Curry meets WBC champion Milton McCrory. It's scheduled for 12 rounds. This is the new Las Vegas Hilton Center. It seats 8,500 and is adjacent to the room where history was made some 7 years ago. It was on February 15th of 1978 that Olympic gold medalist Leon Spinks, with only 7 pro fights to his credit, shocked the boxing world by dethroning the legendary Muhammad Ali.
One of the greatest upsets in the history of the heavyweight championship, Leon Spinks.
And now, over 7 years later, the Hilton is the site for another historic matchup. 2 undefeated champions fight for 1 undisputed title. Hello, everybody. I'm Barry Tompkins, as always, along with the champ Sugar Ray Leonard and Larry Merchant. This one's for the whole ball of wax, the undisputed welterweight championship of the world. And Ray Leonard, it's interesting that both Milton McCrory and Donald Curry have said they've been fighting in a closet under a 50-watt light bulb. Both men have said readily they need a quality opponent to gain respect, and this could be the one that could really do it for one of them.
Well, Barry, this is much more than just unification of titles. That's a matter of economics, and I say that because, quite naturally, the winner will be able to demand more money, and the recognition that he will receive will make him just a little more marketable. And I'm able to reminisce quite some 4 years ago when I beat Thomas Hearns here. So the anticipation is great here. It's very tense because they were going for all the marbles. So this fight here will bring the best out in both fighters.
Larry Merchant, it's interesting, I think, and I cannot remember when a champion, and an undefeated champion at that, was more than a 3-1 underdog, and yet that's the case tonight for Milton McCrory.
Well, the short answer is that more people think Curry's going to win than think that McCrory is going to win. The longer version of that story is that it is a puzzlement. Milton McCrory is a champion, and champions are hard to beat. And he's unbeaten, and an unbeaten fighter is hard to beat. And his hit-and-run tactics just might neutralize Curry. If he were to give Curry the fight of his life, it wouldn't register on the Richter scale as a major shock. Yet the bottom line on the line is this. McCrory is regarded as a good fighter. Curry is regarded as possibly a great fighter. And that's what we're here to see tonight.
Well, in fact, there are a lot of people, Larry, who feel that this could conceivably be the best fight of 1985. Well, if it's going to be that, it's got to be a pretty good fight, because boxing has made big news in the year 1985. 1985 began with the return of the Macho Man. In January, Hector Camacho entered the ring after an 8-month layoff due to managerial and rumored drug problems. Camacho showed very little ring rust as he celebrated the new year with a TKO in the 5th round over a game Louis Burke. In Birmingham, England, welterweight champion Donald Curry also found reason to celebrate. His 4th-round TKO over hometown favorite Colin Jones showed the world that Curry was king of the WBA and the IBF. February brought the rematch in Reno. WBA lightweight champion Livingstone Bramble defended the crown he lifted from Ray Mancini just 8 months earlier. It was a fight to the finish.
It's up for grabs. I would hate to be a judge.
And they will end it the way they started it. Fighting. It's over. Bramble kept the WBA title. Mancini would never be the same again. It was just a matter of time before he would heed the wishes of loved ones.
He's his own man. It's his decision. But if it's up to me, I'd tell him to forget about it.
March blew in with chilling news about 3 of the greatest Latin fighters. It was rumored Duran was broke, as well as former champions Wilfred Benitez and Alexis Arguello. There were also rumors of attempted comebacks. The man who sent Arguello into retirement, Aaron Pryor, was back with his second fight in 2 years. He defended his IBF junior welterweight title over Gary Hinton, but soon after, the boxing world would ask, was this the Hawk's last fight? Larry Holmes claimed that this fight against David Bay would be his last, and with the TKO in the 10th, Holmes stood by his claim that this was it, with one exception.
This is it, means I retire. If I don't get an offer from Michael Spinks by end of April, I retire.
April was marked by what has been called 1985's greatest fight. Marvelous Marvin Hagler put his undisputed middleweight crown on the line against Thomas Hitman Hearns.
At all times. Shake hands, good luck to both of you.
Hearns working that jab. He has a very quick jab. There's no denying. And he caught Hagler with 2 good jabs and a right hand that might have hurt Hagler. Tremendous pace in the first round.
In Hagler's own words, this was war, and he went to work when he had to. Hearns quickly found out the marvelous one was no April Fool. This third-round TKO was no contest. IBF lightweight champion Harry Arroyo was fooled by the ability of challenger Jimmy Paul. Arroyo was knocked down 3 times, and Paul walked away with a unanimous decision and the lightweight crown. The WBA heavyweight crown also changed hands. In his first defense since winning the title from Jerry Coetzee, Greg Page lost it to Tony Tubbs. Confusion in the heavyweight division continued. May brought Larry Holmes back to the ring.
48-0, Big Daddy.
But Big Daddy wasn't facing Spinks. Instead, it was Carl Williams. The 2 heavyweights battled it out for 15 rounds. The young Williams hurt the older Holmes. And although he kept his title, the truth was that Larry had seen better days, and it was written all over his face. And since Jerry Cooney fought less than 10 rounds in 36 months, it seems he came out of retirement to retire. In San Juan, WBA junior lightweight champion Rocky Lockridge retired too soon. Wilfredo Gomez snatched his title, proving that in order to beat a hometown boxer, you gotta knock him out. For Gomez, it was title number 3. In June, Barry McGuigan was looking for title number 1. With Dad's rendition of Danny Boy, the hometown hero went to work, and his job was to capture the WBA featherweight title from Eusebio Pedroza. After 15 rounds, boxing's fastest rising star had dethroned boxing's longest reigning champion with all the emotion of a fairy tale come true. June also brought the first title defense for WBC heavyweight champion Pinklon Thomas. Former heavyweight champion Mike Weaver was knocked down in round 1, and Thomas retained his crown. And it took 8 rounds for light heavyweight champion Michael Spinks to TKO Jim McDonald. Spinks continued to dominate his weight class and made no secret of his intentions to move up and challenge Larry Holmes.
I go out in Eastern and stage a riot all over the place, saying that we won't Larry Holmes.
A man wanted by the police surfaced in July. Roberto Medina, a.k.a. John E. Garcia, was recognized by a rose tattoo on his chest when he fought gold medalist Meldrick Taylor. Medina lost not only the fight, but his freedom as well. On that same night, Pernell Whitaker TKO'd John Sinegal. Evander Holyfield defeated Tyrone Booz. And Mark Breland TKO'd Don Shiner. In Monte Carlo, WBC welterweight champion Milton McCrory took on #1 contender Carlos Trujillo. For McCrory fans, the odds were stacked in his favor, and he quickly paid off as he put Trujillo away in 3. The unification fight was just a matter of time. In August, it was macho time again, as Hector Camacho tried to capture his second world title. Champion Jose Luis Ramirez was dazzled for 12 rounds by the flashy contender and was knocked down in the 3rd.
There's a good left hand, and down goes Ramirez.
Camacho Macho's glitter continued to sparkle, but hopes were doused of a Mancini confrontation when Ray decided to quit. And a match with Aaron Pryor was also never to be. Pryor's drug-related activities outside the ring proved to be his eventual undoing. He had become his own worst enemy. And in August, it was confirmed that Arguello was again putting on the gloves.
I'm ready and I'm willing to do it, and let's see how far I can go.
A flamboyant Lonnie Smith knocked down champion Billy Costello 5 times. In an 8th-round knockout, Smith claimed the WBC's super lightweight title and sent Costello into retirement, at least for 1985. In September, Michael Spinks finally made a heavyweight out of himself. And Larry Holmes was on hand to meet his challenge. Both fighters hoped to make history. Spinks was trying to become the first light heavyweight to capture the heavyweight crown, while Holmes was chasing the legend of Rocky Marciano.
For the winner, and new IBF.
Realizing that immortality had eluded him and disappointed Holmes, disappointed his fans.
I mean, if you really want to get technical about the whole thing, Rocky couldn't carry my jockstrap.
In October, WBC featherweight champion Azuma Nelson of Ghana got one step closer to a unification fight with WBA champion Barry McGuigan when he delivered a devastating uppercut to knock out England's Pat Cowdell in the opening round. Meanwhile, Marvelous Marvin Hagler claimed injury and backed out of his fight with John Mugabe. In November, all the boxing news came from out of the ring. Don King praised America as he was absolved of any wrongdoing in the tax charges brought against him. And after nearly 2 decades in prison, former middleweight Reuben Hurricane Carter was freed from a New Jersey jail. Sadly, though, the boxing world mourned the passing of Cus D'Amato. Which brings us to December and tonight's unification bout between Donald Curry and Milton McCrory. And so we await the start of only the 3rd unification fight during the 1980s. There was Spinks Kwawi, and of course, there was Leonard Hearns. And tonight, McCrory Curry for the welterweight title. And Ray, let's talk about Donald Curry. It's been said styles make fights, and Donald Curry is a guy really who hasn't shown any one style. He's been a puncher, he's been a boxer, he's been a counterpuncher. We don't really know who's going to show up tonight.
Well, that's what makes Donald Curry such a special fighter. He's able to adapt to any particular style. And I've been impressed with Donald Curry the first time I saw him because he's grown, he's matured, he's a very intelligent boxer. And I see him taking the fight to McCrory, working inside because he's a better inside fighter than Milton McCrory.
Well, Donald Curry has been called, pound for pound, the best fighter of his time. It's just that nobody seems to know it. He's a very quiet guy, a very sensitive guy. And tonight, he's on a mission to prove the optimists right. Donald Curry, a 24-year-old whose story began in a small home just outside of downtown Fort Worth. He was raised by his mother Hazel. While Donald dreamed of playing for the nearby Cowboys, he settled on a different sport.
So this guy named Wes Parker used to come up in his big truck, and everybody used to jump in the back of it and go off to the gym. And I just followed the crowd to the gym and happened to be good at it and kept with it.
And after 400 amateur fights and the 1980 Olympic boycott, Donald turned professional.
I think if I had, went to the Olympics, won the gold medal, and got everything soon, I don't think I would have been as disciplined as I am now, as a fighter, as a trainer. I wouldn't have it no other way because I came up, I was a hungry fighter. I'm still hungry, and it makes me work harder.
Then in his 16th pro fight, he won the welterweight title. His purse, $75,000.
I still didn't think nothing of the boycott or missing out on the Olympics until I won the world title. When I beat John Sock Wang, then it started coming all back to me that, wow, what opportunity did I miss? And I was kind of upset, but there's nothing I could do about it, so I just continued to win as a professional.
As welterweight champion, his road to glory was haunted by personal problems. In 1984, Donald Curry fought off 3 welterweight challengers and family tragedies which at times seemed too much to endure. Older brother Bruce had won the WBC junior welterweight title, but in '84 he lost it to Billy Costello. Afterwards, he fired a gun at his trainer Jesse Reed and was found not guilty by reason of insanity.
I had read a little bit about it in the paper, but it didn't affect me like I thought it was. I used it more as a motivating factor. I think probably the biggest asset about Don Curry is that I have a strong mental mind. No one can pause in this mind, because if you pause in the mind, you can easily be defeated. The day that I've heard about it, it was like 2 days before I was fighting Marlon Saul in the most important fight of my career.
While Donald struggled to continue, a judge sent Bruce to a psychiatric hospital. As if it wasn't enough, more bad fortune followed. In August of that same year, Donald's 18-year-old sister Angela was tragically killed in a motorcycle accident.
And Don was actually out in front of the club visiting with some of his friends when there was a motorcycle accident just up the street here. He actually saw the accident, not knowing at the time that his sister was involved. And of course, he rushed to the hospital where she was fatally injured.
It was like, I was paralyzed. I couldn't move. I stayed in bed. I didn't eat anything. I lost a lot of weight. I just couldn't do anything. But after the 2 weeks had passed by, it wasn't doing me any good. I had to talk to myself. I was laying in bed talking to myself. What I'm doing is no good for me. She would want me to continue on to do the best I can in boxing and win this and win that, take care of, her son Michael. And I think he was probably the biggest turnaround for me for his motivation and wanting to continue my career.
The mental toughness of Donald Curry is testimony to the ordeals he and his family have met head on. And tonight is Donald Curry's biggest night. This for the undisputed welterweight championship. It was more than 5 years ago that Larry Merchant saw a young Donald Curry fight, called his friends and said, "I've just seen the future welterweight champion." He's been talking about him ever since, and he'll continue to do so right now. Larry?
All week long, people have been asking me to describe Donald Curry to them, to suggest a fighter that he resembles. And I've been saying, well, he's a pure boxer puncher. No ruffles, no shuffles. And then I've been adding, almost apologetically, that he sort of reminds me a little bit of, Sugar Ray Robinson. Even now, it's very hard to say. It's sort of like describing your new house as a little bit like the Taj Mahal. Maybe his mother put it best. After seeing him play ball, she said all the other kids were making the noise. He was just being good. No frills, no embellishments, in or out of the ring. If he were an actor, he wouldn't chew on the scenery. If he were jewels, he'd be a perfect string of pearls. That's why there's no magic or drama attached to him, at least as yet. But with his ability, as well as his ambition and his passion, that too will come. But it's also a danger. When you take the curve at high speed, you may run into a wall or a left hook, especially when your opponent is someone like Milton McCrory, who merely wants to be the best he can be, but who's laying in the weeds, waiting to pounce on a first mistake.
When you think of Detroit, what do you think of? An automobile plant, most likely. When the subject changes to boxing, it's Tommy Hearns who probably first comes to mind. But now there's another big wheel in Detroit. His name, Milton McCrory, the WBC welterweight champion of the world. If you didn't know the difference, you might think this was Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous. If it was, this week's show might include Larry Holmes giving us a tour of his estate in Easton, Pennsylvania. And Hector Camacho visiting the beaches of Southern California. It is the unusual life of many boxing champions. We'd also take a look at Milton McCrory. What makes him so unusual? Just the fact that he's so usual. While many boxers have come from broken families and neighborhoods which support fighting, such was not the case with this boxer.
We was never forced to box or to look for boxing to make a quick living. No, we didn't need that.
The McCrorys were your basic middle-class family who brought up their 6 children in a very middle-class neighborhood of Detroit. So then why would Milton ever become a boxer?
There was a lot of guys that live on this block, say around 10 guys. You know, we all around the same age. And we was all into different sports. We all played a lot of sports together, football, baseball. And then my friend Jimmy Paul, he started boxing. He told us some stories, and we started boxing too. It was about 10 of us went down to the gym to box.
In the end, the block produced somewhat of a championship stable of boxers. Today, Jimmy Paul is the IBF lightweight champion, and Milton's younger brother, Steve, who recently turned pro, remains unbeaten as a bantamweight. But a 4-sided ring was not where young Milton McCrory had hoped to be. A 4-sided diamond was more like it.
I feel in my heart I want to be a world champion baseball player, but I'm a world champion boxer. I'm in the wrong sport. But I know the truth of the matter is that I'm the champion in boxing. I'm proud of it, though.
Uh-oh. Some dreams may never die, but perhaps it would be very safe to say that Milton certainly made the right decision. For in 1983, he defeated Colin Jones of England to win the welterweight title. Yet that has not seemed to change the new champion's lifestyle, in or out of the ring. Upon becoming champion, many boxers become the owners of castle-like homes, parading entourages, and overbearing jewelry. Such has not been the case of champion Milton McCrory. To this day, he lives with his family in Detroit. The word entourage is not even a part of his vocabulary, and the only jewelry is a gold chain, which is as unnoticeable as his presence.
I pretty much like to stick to the same way before I became champion. I like to carry my own gym bag to the gym. I pretty much like to be to myself. And I like to stick with the way it was before I became champion. I just like to be that way and stay that way now.
In a sport that lends itself to extravagant lifestyles, it's refreshing to see a young man whose life and priorities have remained so simple. He's reached goals that he never intended or needed to achieve, while there are other dreams that to this day he's still hoping to catch.
And there he is, Milton McCrory, and we trust that he will do better at catching punches than he does at baseballs.
So Milton McCrory looking very relaxed, and we should point out, Ray, that we saw him, I'd say 45 minutes ago, and he was as calm as I've ever seen any fighter before a championship fight, and he remains that way right now.
Well, let me tell you from experience, what it looks like. He's cool and composed, but inside, those butterflies are just flying around.
Milton McCrory, a fighter, really has something to prove, perhaps even more than Donald Curry. He's probably even a lesser-known champion than is Donald Curry. Both men, of course, are undefeated, and Milton McCrory, having lost the toss of a coin, comes into the ring first. That's the only reason he comes in first. There's his record. 27 wins, no losses. He had the one draw, that with Colin Jones, 22 knockouts. So he can't punch. Most of his knockouts, however, came early on. First 17 opponents went the way of the knockout route. So Milton McCrory, again, remaining very cool, very calm. He was talking about baseball really being his love and not so much boxing, and you would think from a city like Detroit, people like Thomas Hearns or Joe Louis might be his heroes. Nope. His hero, he says, is Al Kaline, who incidentally caught a baseball considerably better than Milton McCrory. Meanwhile, Donald Curry, and Curry, conversely, looking all business.
You know, and that's what it's all about, because he's serious. He knows exactly what he has to do to be effective against McCrory. He knows fully well he must be very aggressive and take the fight to Milton.
Larry Merchant, interesting little sidebar at the press conference this morning, and we talk about Curry being all business. He was as early as 8 o'clock this morning.
Well, I noticed the other day that he was relaxed, he was confident, but he was coldly angry.
That is Akbar Muhammad leading Donald Curry into the ring. And Curry's stern expression on his face. They call him the Cobra. He is that quick. And there's the record of Donald Curry, 23 wins, perfect record. And according to a lot of boxing observers, getting better with every fight. So Donald Curry is now in the ring. Let's take a look at how these two compare. And the only real difference there is the height of Milton McCrory. He's got Donald Curry by 2.5 inches. But really, that is not a significant factor. Everything else very comparable between these two. So that is the story. The common opponents of these two fighters, both rather significant. Roger Stafford, and as you can see, Curry knocked him out in 1 round, while McCrory took 10 to decision him. And Colin Jones, the one draw on McCrory's record coming against Colin Jones. Curry, it should be pointed out, fought Colin Jones after those 2 McCrory fights and knocked him out in 4 rounds.
And here is our computer toy punch stat, which will give us a quantitative rather than a qualitative look at the fight. You see that Donald Curry in these 3 fights threw in the area of 55 punches and landed about 30 punches around, a high percentage of landed punches. And here is McCrory, who was much busier, throwing a lot of flicking jabs and landing almost the same number of punches as his opponent.
Let's take a look at the rules in this fight. Once again, the one that really stands out, these WBC rules, the one exception, the 3 knockdown rule, is in effect. Now, Donald Curry wanted that rule, and he did get that. So WBC rules, with the one exception, 3 knockdown rule is in effect. A man is knocked down 3 times in a round. That is the end of the fight. Right now, let's get up to the ring announcer, Chuck Hall, for the introduction of these 2 champions. Chuck?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Hilton Center of the Las Vegas Hilton Hotel, where tonight Top Rank Incorporated, in association with the Hilton Hotel, presents the Toss-Up, an evening of World Championship boxing. These bouts are sanctioned by the Nevada State Athletic Commission, Freddie Little, chairman, Dwayne Ford, vice chairman, with commissioners at ringside, Mr. Sig Rogich, Mr. Herb Santos, and Mr. Sammy Macias. The executive director at ringside, Harold Buck. Your matchmaker is Mel Greb. Representing the WBA on this contest is Alberto Aleman, and the WBC representative is Jose Suleiman. The officials assigned by the Nevada State Athletic Commission for the next event of the evening. The judges are Dave Moretti, Lou Tabbitt, and Jerry Roth. The timekeeper is Jane Broadfoot. Counting at the knockdown, Charlie Roth. The attending physicians at ringside, Doctors Donald Romeo and James Game, and your referee is Mills Lane. This is the main event of the evening. 12 rounds of boxing for the undisputed welterweight championship of the world. Introducing, in the red corner, fighting out of Detroit, Michigan, weighing 146 3/4 pounds. He is undefeated in his professional career with 27 wins, no defeats, 1 draw, and 22 KOs. Ladies and gentlemen, introducing the WBC welterweight champion of the world, Milton, the Iceman McCrory. And in the blue corner, his opponent from Fort Worth, Texas. He too weighed 146 3/4 pounds. He too is undefeated in his professional career with 23 wins, no defeats, and 18 KOs. He is the IBF and WBA welterweight champion of the world, presenting Donald, the Lone Star Cobra, Curry.
Guys, we both had construction in the dressing room. Any questions from Mr. McCrory's corner or the chief second? Any questions, Mr. Curry's corner or the chief second? All right, let's get it on.
Let's get it on. And a word about the odds. You asked me before, Barry. What I've learned is that there have been very little betting actually on the outcome of the fight, but the odds have gone from even money to 2-1 that it won't go the distance. Two champions in the ring, and everybody's expecting them to put it out there and try to win.
One observation, Ray, that I had too was the last time I saw a fighter as relaxed as Milton McCrory and as intense as Donald Curry was the marvelous Marvin Hagler versus Tommy Hearns fight, when Hearns came in very relaxed and Hagler came in all business.
Well, with Curry, he's very serious, and his punches are a lot more accurate than McCrory. McCrory is trying to use that jab, keep Curry at bay, keep him on the outside. But see, inside, Barry, Curry is a much more effective fighter.
Curry going downstairs early in the first round and pressing the fight. And a big right hand.
He's timing that jab, left jab of McCrory, and come with the counter right hand.
And another good left hand.
McCrory is a little tight here. And see, Curry's doing the right thing. He's staying right on top of him. Another thing, he's starting to telegraph his punches.
Again, a combination drives McCrory into the ropes. He bounces off the ropes. Ray, you were saying he can't be on the ropes.
He can't be on the ropes because that's when Curry is going to work that body and come back to the head. Another thing, Barry, is the fact that the jab of McCrory is starting to slow down now. This is early in the round. He needs to get that jab back.
Not even halfway into the first round. Again, it is Curry pressing the action.
And Curry looks to be a lot stronger. Very good defense. He has better defense than McCrory. Keeps those hands high, keeps that chin tucked. He's making every punch count.
And it also seems that Donald Curry feels that McCrory can't hurt him. He hit him a couple of fairly good shots, and Curry didn't even flinch, didn't even take a half step back.
You notice that McCrory now is starting to double up on his jab. What he's trying to do is trying to bait Curry in for that good right hand. McCrory has a devastating right hand.
And another good left hand, and McCrory's in trouble. Curry right on top of him.
He's hurt. You notice his knees buckle.
Another left hand.
Curry's going to stay right on top of his man.
McCrory is still in trouble.
You notice how high that Curry keeps those hands. Very good defense. He's fighting a perfect fight this time. There he ran to the right hand of McCrory.
That was the first wild punch that Curry's thrown.
Take him inside, man! Take him inside, man!
Get the punches up. Come on.
Bill's Lane telling him to keep the punches up. End of the first round. Huge round for Donald Curry.
A very dominant round. A classic round for Donald Curry. You're looking at Milton McCrory.
I believe he's going to burn himself out. He's fighting too intense. When you get through with your shit, push him off. And keep the left hand out there. You understand? When you get the move, keep the left hand out there. He's fighting a lot more tighter than he normally is. Try them and let that damn right hand go.
Oh, no.
And here is Curry in action with a good right hand, which will show right 1 minute. Staying close, the left hand. That was the left hand. A perfect punch came down and over with the left. Here it is from another angle. Curry measuring his man. McCrory a little bit off balance. He took an awful good punch. He's remaining competitive. Let's see what he comes up with in this round.
Second round, Emmanuel Stewart telling Milton McCrory, I believe he's going to burn himself out. We'll see.
I doubt that very seriously. So in the meantime, he's landing those big bombs on McCrory.
In fact, if there's been any question of either man's stamina, the question has been of Milton McCrory.
Mills Lane starting to warn him for the low blows that's being thrown by Curry.
Don't let this go.
Donald Curry now is trying to work that body. Throwing some vicious shots to the midsection.
He took a left hand from McCrory there. And there was a counter-punching left hand.
McCrory's best bet is to use that jab. Just keep his man in the center of the ring. What's happened here, he's giving Curry momentum, and Curry's going to keep taking the fight to him.
Another good right hand by Curry. And downstairs with the right hand by Curry.
You listen to the sounds of the blows being landed. That tells you that these guys are putting a lot of body, are getting a lot of leverage behind each punch.
A left hand, down goes McCrory. A smashing left hook. He's in trouble. 6, 7, 8. Curry right back. It's over. This one is history. 1, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 8.
You couldn't see a more picture-perfect fight than Donald Curry fought tonight. He has the makings of being a truly great, great fighter.
I would say great, great fight. Donald Curry proved that he has the makings of a great champion. He threw a left hook and right hand.
Milton McCrory is still down, and we will keep an eye on him. We will, of course, let you know what condition he is in. They will keep him there as a precautionary measure, I'm quite certain. You will not see a better left hook.
That was one of the best left hooks I've seen executed. Picture perfect.
Minute and 53 seconds of the second round.
It was all serious business by Donald Curry.
He did not waste a punch. He threw maybe 1 or 2 awkward punches. Milton McCrory being looked at by the doctor. He is conscious. Trying to keep the crowd in the ring away from Milton McCrory. They're putting an ice bag under his head right now.
The concern, Barry, was when he was knocked down, his head actually hit the canvas. And that's where the concern of the physicians.
They will take no chances. Of course, sports medicine has gotten so far advanced in the last several years. Everybody very conscious of the tragedies in this sport and in other sports. Ray, let's take a look at it. We'll see the first knockdown right here, and it was as pretty as you're going to see.
You can appreciate, and it happened so quick, appreciate the power, the execution of the left hook thrown by Donald Curry. There, he stepped in with the left hook, picture perfect, right on the chin. You won't see a better left hook thrown by anyone.
Well, when they teach this sport,
and at this point, I don't think that he should have continued because he's still wobbly. The right hand.
And he went down very hard. McCrory was saying to Mills Lane on that shot that we just saw in the corner a moment ago, I'm okay, and Mills Lane then waved him on.
But you can see his legs were still rubbery, and as he walked out, he walked straight into that right hand.
Milton McCrory appears to be all right. They're keeping him down and will do so as a precautionary measure. Now he comes to his feet, and they will sit him down on a stool. All this very precautionary. Milton McCrory is conscious. He is conversing with his handlers and the doctor. They're getting ice on the back of his neck. He appears to be okay.
Watch the right hand thrown by Donald Curry. He walks straight towards McCrory, and there, solid right hand, and McCrory is out for good.
Well, there is no questioning the talent of Donald Curry based on tonight's performance.
Well, the power and the way he threw the punch was just perfect.
You've always said that so much of a boxer's power, of course, comes not from the hands but from the feet, and he was perfectly on balance, both on the left hook and on that straight right hand that he threw to finish it off.
Well, Barry, you see the whole fight, the way that Donald Curry worked the body, he stayed down to the body, and when the opportunity presented itself, he went to the head. He was a much stronger puncher.
Just relax, relax for a few minutes, and then we'll have you get up and walk around for us a little bit, show everybody you're okay. Give the crowd a big wave, put up a hell of a fight.
Come on, your second round?
Second round.
Come on, Jesus Christ, man. Is it like that? Hold a second. Wait a minute.
And so the good news is, of course, that Milton McCrory is talking to people, and you heard the doctor say, we'll keep you sitting around and you'll be able to get up and walk around a little bit. Obviously, he's very disappointed. Asked what round it was, and his trainers told him the second round. He has to be disappointed, but I'll tell you, he was in there with a buzzsaw tonight.
He was in there with a guy that showed what he was made of, Donald Curry. Now Donald will get the recognition that he deserves. I mean, this fight here, because there's very few fighters that could have given him this type of publicity and recognition.
There is his record up to the minute now, 24-0, 19 knockouts, and he seems to be getting better with every fight. And Larry Merchant has made his way over first to speak with the loser, the former champion, Milton McCrory. Larry, you got it.
Milton McCrory has regained consciousness. He's still a little dazed. Are you all right now, Milton?
He knows where he is. He knows everything about what's going on. He's come out of it very nicely. He's very disappointed that he lost the fight, but that's the main thing.
Dr. Rogiel. All right. He's all right. We'll get Donald Curry for you in a moment.
Okay, thank you very much, Larry Merchant. You heard the doctor who was doing the talking there saying that he is all right. Now both fighters congratulating one another. We will make our way over to Donald Curry just as soon as we can get through the chaos that is currently going on in the ring. Larry Merchant right now getting next to Donald Curry, and we'll have a chance to see it. Let's go up to Larry Merchant right now, who is with the champion, Donald Curry. Larry?
Donald Curry, did you anticipate something like this?
Well, not really. Usually I don't get a strategy. I don't get that feeling until I get in the ring. And Milton was a lot taller than I thought he was. So I was going to try, to fill him out the first couple of rounds, make him work hard. And then I seen I was physically stronger than he was. So then I really started taking it to him. I could out-muscle him, and I caught him with a good left hook.
It looked as though you didn't think he could hurt you about midway through the first round.
Well, I did. After I hurt him, I started trying too hard. I started kind of lunging with punches, and my corner came back to me. When I went back to the corner, they told me to set him up off his jab, because it was slow, and I stepped in with the hook.
That's it. Well, let's take a look at the knockdown, the first knockdown here, and describe it to us as you see it.
Well, it was a left hook. My corner been telling me that, throw that left hook. He was wide open. Most crunk fighters are. I caught him right off his jab.
Why are crunk fighters wide open for a left hook?
Most of them drop their left hand, and they keep their hands low. And I knew Milton. I thought he was a lot faster than what he was as far as the jab, but he was poking the jab out there, and I stepped right in front of the jab, inside the jab with the left hook.
You seem to come out almost in a cool fury, like you just couldn't wait to get at this man.
Well, in the last couple of fights, it's kind of been that way. I would like to go back to boxing, but I physically, I thought I was a lot stronger, so I went out and took it to him.
And he never gave you any problem at all?
Not really. He hit me with some good shots in the first round, anything that didn't daze me, but it caught my attention that I was getting hit more than what I usually do.
Let's then take a look at the final knockdown.
Well, it was a right hand. Boom. I knew it was all over because I snapped his head back, and I knew then that it was over.
You've talked about going right straight up to the middleweight division, or at least the junior middleweight division. Can you carry that punch with you? Can you hurt big guys like that?
I think so. I think when I move up to the 54 pounds, that I'm a natural 54 pounder. I think I can handle the middleweight in maybe another year or so.
You wait all this time to become the unified welterweight champion, and now you say after one fight you're going to abandon the title, or are you going to defend it at all?
I don't think so. I think I want to go up and fight junior middleweight. I don't think the credibility in the welterweight division, there's nobody there that will motivate me to get up and make me do the things I'm supposed to do. In the junior middleweight, I think there's a lot of quality fighters that will make me better in the long run.
Name some of them.
Mike McCullum, Tommy Hearns, Santos, Davey Moore. It's a lot of good junior middleweights.
Bring them out.
What does this mean to you in terms of your saying that you want to be more than just a champion, that you want to be a boxing figure in history?
Yeah, I think that's my goal. I think that's what really pumped me up for this fight, is that I'm looking more for longevity. Not really longevity, but history. I want to be named in the same breath with my man Sugar Ray Leonard.
Well, you've got a way to go, but you're on your way.
Thank you, Larry.
Back to ringside.
Okay, thank you very much. And let's ask then, right now, before we take another look at that second round, Ray, let's go up to the ring announcer, Chuck Hull, and get the official decision. Chuck?
Ladies and gentlemen, the time, 1 minute, 53 seconds of the second round. The winner by a TKO and new, undisputed welterweight champion of the world, Donald the Lone Star Cobra, Curry.
So a most impressive victory for him. You know, it's interesting to me, Ray, you don't think of boxing too much as a team sport, and yet you heard him say Kronk fighters all drop that left hand. So somebody obviously was looking at films, looking at tapes, and they really knew what they were doing, not just Donald Curry, but the whole team in the corner.
Well, the Curry group, they did their homework, and they studied films and tapes. And I tell you, what I like mostly about Donald Curry, he's so modest. I mean, he fought a magnificent fight. He got the job done, and he spoke very highly.
And nice guys don't always finish last, do they?
That's true.
This one just won a great fight. Let's take a look then as we go back to the second round. We'll pick it up just into the second round. And we should point out, incidentally, all three judges had Curry ahead 10-9 in the first round, just for the record. Mills Lane came in here and said, keep the punches up. That's about the only negative you could find in this fight.
Well, Donald Curry fought the perfect fight. You know, he stalked this man, he cut the ring off, he worked the body. He used his jab, got closer to McCrory, kept McCrory off balance a great deal. You see here those body shots, although some were considered low, he stayed on top of McCrory.
Do you see McCrory dropping his left hand here?
Well, McCrory has a tendency, again, to reach in. Reach in, I mean, he comes in with his head first. He drops that left hand. And with Curry, Curry was able to counter that. There, you see he throws the right hand.
You know, it's interesting also, I think, that he likened himself to you, to Sugar Ray Leonard, and I think you never went into a fight with a particular style. You fought the fight to suit the man you were fighting. When he fought Roger Stafford, he was an aggressive fighter. When he fought Elio Diaz, he was a counter puncher. When he fought Nino LaRocca, he was also aggressive. When he fought Colin Jones, he was just a flat-footed banger.
Curry fought the best fight for a guy like McCrory. He just stayed aggressive. Very good defense. You have to be impressed with his defense. And never really gave McCrory any breathing room. Beautiful left hook. I mean, I really have to take my hat off to Donald Curry because he had balance, he had leverage, and you saw the power of that left hook.
The other thing that he seems to do, that the man on my right, Sugar Ray Leonard, used to do too, is he doesn't waste any punches.
He takes his time. He makes every punch count. The right hand there. Perfect timing. You have to... Perfect time. That's exactly what it was.
He literally knocked the man out with two punches. He had the left hook. The man got up. He took a 9 count. He said, I'm okay. He came back. One punch, right hand. He was down.
Well, as he walked towards the ring, you saw that he was all business. He wasn't smiling, wasn't laughing or anything. Whereas that Milton McCrory was pretty much trying to dance to the song, and it didn't really pay off.
Is it a fact that all Kronk fighters do that kind of thing? I mean, do you feel the Kronk people are going to have to go back and kind of take a look at their own stable?
Well, what has happened? Normally with Kronk fighters all being so tall, they try to emulate Thomas Hearns, and they have a tendency to drop that left hand and prove to be a big mistake.
Both McCrory and Curry have said that they would feel more comfortable going up one division, at least to a junior middleweight division, if not to a middleweight division. Do you see that happening, or do you see somebody, as Donald Curry said, that he might have a couple of fights in the welterweight division? Anybody that can compete with him in the welterweight?
I think that Donald Curry will move up to the junior middleweight. Like he stated, there are no really quality fighters, left in the welterweight division, whereas that he can move up for the Thomas Hearns or Mike McCullum, and in the future, a marvelous Marvin Hagler bout would be mega bucks.
I have to think so too, and people are going to really start to take notice now of this man. Let's take a look at a most interesting graphic here. Here's the best won and lost record in welterweight championship bouts, and right now it's Donald Curry up there in some pretty select company. Sugar Ray Robinson, of course, 6 wins and no defeats, and now Donald Curry along with Tommy Ryan, 7 victories and no losses. What does it mean, though, for a fighter to go up? Now, you heard Larry Merchant ask Donald Curry, can you go up and still pack the punch? He says he feels he can in a year or so. What do you think?
He can, because he's a young guy. He's steady growing, Barry, and he's not taking anything away from himself by putting on that additional weight, because it is natural weight. And the way he looked physically stronger than Milton McCrory, and he proved that. He was able to outmuscle McCrory, and McCrory never really was into the fight, except a couple times he landed a couple right hands, which didn't even faze Donald Curry at all.
Yeah, I think that's the other thing. We've talked about what a great left hook he had and what a good finisher he was with that straight right hand. But his defense, as you touched upon a moment ago, was probably equally as good as his offense tonight.
Donald Curry is what you call a fundamentalist. I mean, he keeps his hands high, and he bobs and weaves, utilizes the left jab. He comes back with the left hook. And tonight, all he needed was the left hook and the right hand to finish things up.
He came into this fight, incidentally, with a reputation as a counterpuncher. And obviously, the reputation as a counterpuncher is not one that's going to make you a lot of money. Do you feel that his reputation will change based on tonight's victory?
Well, tonight's fight and the victory is going to make him even better. And it won't change anything. If anything, it'll make him better.
Good counterpuncher, but a lot of offense, too. He took the initiative, took the fight right to the man, and the results, of course, really were in the pudding right there. You saw the fact that he knocked the man out in the second round. That was the proof. Let's go up to the ring now and Larry Merchant. Larry?
I have a few thoughts about all of this, or all of this. One is, why wasn't there any music in the champion's ring this week? Watching him work out, he's one of the few fighters in modern times who don't have a lot of hot music around them to inspire them. Now it occurs to me, I know why. He knows that he makes the music. He beats on those drums pretty effectively. Another thing I was thinking about was something he said earlier in the week about this fight is the first fight of the rest of his life. Indeed, it will be. Now he will try to follow in the footsteps of 3 outstanding welterweight champions who went on to become middleweight champions in modern times: Ray Robinson, Carmen Basilio, Emil Griffith. That's pretty good company. So out there in front of him, a major fight one of these years, perhaps a year and a half down the road. Marvin Hagler. Are you waiting for him, Marvin? Barry?
Okay, thanks, Larry. There is an interesting note to that, and it is consistent with his character, I think, that he doesn't have a lot of music playing and that kind of thing. He's a very quiet guy. In fact, he said, we talked about heroes earlier, and we said Milton McCrory's hero was Al Kaline. Well, his heroes are John McEnroe and Eddie Murphy. He said he likes big mouths, and the reason he does is because he's not one. He wishes he could be.
Well, his personality won't let him be that way. He's a nice guy. He's a champion. Undisputed. He's great.
No question about it. You want to see one more time just how great he is. We'll take another look just before the knockout in the second round. And that is McCrory, of course, in the gold trunks on the right of your screen right now if you just happen to tune in. Even that was a good right hand.
Very patient, taking his time. He's making every punch count. And he sees himself just getting closer and closer and ready to drop the bomb, which was the left hook.
And it is coming up in just a moment. And it came from nowhere.
And it's very difficult to just get a left hook off that way with power.
He missed with a left hook there, but that was the last one he was going to miss.
It was short, it was sweet, and it was very effective.
I'll tell you, when they draw it up on the chalkboard, that's got to be the way they do it, Ray.
That is the exact way you execute.
Now you might hear, just to interrupt, Mills Lane say, "Are you okay?"
Well, you notice that McCrory didn't have a chance at all, because as soon as Mills Lane let him proceed to fight, Donald Curry was right there.
And that one was history. So a great champion we might have seen tonight. And it's a champion who seems to be getting better and better and better. His mind, in addition to his body, just seems to be in the right place. Everything seems to be working very well for him.
Well, he has the right attitude for a champion. And I think there's a lot of great things in the future for Donald Curry. You're going to see a lot of bigger things for Donald Curry.
Yeah, I was going to say, I always ask you, what does this guy have to do to be even better? And I don't even know if I can really honestly ask you that question this time, because the guy seems to be perfectly in control of his future.
Well, he knows exactly what he has to do, and he gets the job done.
And the fact is, the guy is a nice guy. Everybody now certainly is going to be talking about a Marvin Hagler fight, and there is some question as to whether Marvelous Marvin Hagler is going to want to get in there right now with Donald Curry.
Well, yeah, Marvin will fight anyone because he's that type of champion. But the fact of the matter is, like Donald Curry stated, the fact that in a year or so he will be a full-fledged middleweight. But for now, I think he is too premature to let him just jump in the ring with the middleweight. The junior middleweight category is perfect for him because he has the height, he has the talent, the experience, and most importantly, the power to deal with those guys.
Marvin Hagler, of course, has said that he only wants 3 more fights, and then he'd like to get out of it. He'd like to just take Carlos Monzon's record and say, that's it, I'll see you later. But do you think the lure of the big bucks with a guy like Donald Curry will be enough?
Oh, it has to, because people are going to start talking. They're talking now. Donald Curry, Marvelous Marvin Hagler. It's almost inevitable.
But it is interesting to me, too. Milton McCrory, before this fight, said his walking around weight was 163 pounds. But Donald Curry's walking around weight was only 156 or 157. So I don't know. Would he just be kind of a blown-up welterweight?
Not really, because when I was fighting as a welterweight, 147, I would walk the streets around 56, 57. So it's a natural weight, but it's not really just fat.
When you look at Marvelous Marvin Hagler and you look at Donald Curry, at least I see 2 different kinds of fighters. I don't know why. I just have this image that Hagler is just a bigger, stronger guy. But it may just be that he's a middleweight, and that's just the way his body looks and is built. as opposed to Donald Curry, who's a little bit more wiry, more like you, actually.
Well, Hagler is a monster, and his body speaks for itself. But Donald Curry, he's going to continue to grow, get bigger and stronger and more developed.
You know, we talked about the fact that Donald Curry doesn't waste any punches. He just goes ahead and goes and does his business. The punch stat figures from tonight's fight, I think, are most revealing. 58% effectiveness tonight for Curry. And they weren't so much jabs. He went with some bombs.
Yeah, and in fact, that 114 punches thrown by Milton McCrory, which proved that Milton was pretty much just using a jab and just trying to keep his man off. But Donald Curry stayed in his chest, didn't allow him to have any punching room because, like I said earlier, that Donald Curry is a better inside fighter than Milton McCrory.
Well, the 18% effectiveness from McCrory is indicative of just how good Donald Curry plays defense also.
Oh, for sure, because in other words, when he got inside, he was able to dish some punches to the midsection, and I think those punches, too, took their toll on Milton McCrory.
What do you feel McCrory's real strength is? Is he a kind of guy who should go in there and box? Is he a kind of guy who can really get in there and bang away? Now, obviously, against Milton McCrory, he did, but McCrory is a guy who, when I think he hit him a couple of times, obviously Curry said, well, this man can't hurt me, and I'm going to go ahead and bang away at him. But what's his natural style?
Well, with McCrory, he needs to box. He has to utilize his height and reach advantage. He tried to do that, but what you have to understand, Barry, is the fact that Donald Curry was so much stronger physically than McCrory, and McCrory just couldn't get out of the way. A good example was Hearns and Hagler. Hearns tried to use that reach advantage, but Hagler was right in his chest.
One final thing. We've talked about the champion, Donald Curry. We haven't talked too much about Milton McCrory. He's a guy who has always said, I don't really care too much for boxing. I just do it because that's the way I make my living. Now, with a devastating loss like this, what's going to come of him?
It's going to affect him quite naturally because when crunk fighters lose, especially as devastating as that knockout was, it has a tendency to take something away from them.
All right, so that just about brings this one to a close then. We want to remind you to join us for live coverage of Sports Illustrated announces its Sportsman of the Year Award, a comprehensive look back at the year in sports, culminating in the presentation of the Sportsman of the Year. That's December 17th, right here on HBO. Also, don't miss HBO's next presentation of World Championship Boxing, as WBA heavyweight champion Tony Tubbs defends his crown against Tim Witherspoon. That's live Friday, January 17th. Right here on HBO. So for Larry Merchant and Sugar Ray Leonard, I'm Barry Tompkins saying so long.